Hey everybody, it's Trigger Bar Philosopher. Welcome back out to the channel. Today we got a great episode. We're going to be comparing external hollow points against internal hollow points in 380 ACP. Should be a good time. Let's get to shooting. So we are talking about today the traditional jacketed hollow point against what is called a external hollow point. They have come into pass from a company called Lehigh Defense. Now there's a bunch of other companies that are making them. I'm not sure who made them first. I'm not sure I really care. I'm sure one of you will put it in the comments below. But what we're talking about is an XTP bullet right here from Hornady. And we are going to be comparing it against one of these Lehigh Defense bullets. You know the kind, they have a screw tip type shape. They're supposed to create some type of hydraulic effect as it goes through tissue and create a larger hole than just a normal .355 bullet would do. So again, this is the other type of bullet. It's the premium or platinum lineup that we're going to be testing against. So we're going to be comparing these two. Now, okay, recently I put out a video that talked about the top 5 ammunition choices that I have for the Bodyguard 2.0. I'm not so sure after that video they would still be my top 5, but my top 1 remains my top 1, and that is the Underwood XTP. Now, I got a lot of comments in that video that I really should have tested and chosen the Underwood Extreme Defender. There's a variety of reasons that I didn't choose that, one of which is that it doesn't often cycle reliably in my Bodyguard 2.0. And if you check out the comments on a lot of my videos where I've already tested these, people confirm it and say, oh yeah, I also don't have reliability with the Underwood Extreme Defender bullet. Now again, I've shot hundreds of these Extreme Defender bullets through my Bodyguard. I get a failure rate about 1 every 40, something like that. It's not every round, but it's not enough that I would feel comfortable carrying it in my self-defense round, so it got removed. But the point is that there are some Bodyguards and some other 380 ACP guns that this external hollow point design actually works quite well in and functions and performs. So the question we're going to ask today is, does the external hollow point in 380 ACP, is it a better choice than this XTP round? Now, I will also clarify that I really only like the Underwood XTP bullet because that's the one that I've found that expands reliably. I tested American Gunner, and one time it expanded and one time it didn't. I've tested Precision Defense, sometimes or Precision 1, sometimes it expands, sometimes it doesn't. Really is velocity dependent, and by far Underwood loads these the fastest with the standard pressure. I've recently tested Precision 1 in plus P, and it was not plus P, so we're going to throw that out. So what we're looking at then is, does a bullet that expand in 380 ACP perform better than a bullet that doesn't expand? And do these flutes make more of a difference? Now, that's really hard for us to tell in the ballistic gel. So we're going to do a couple of new things on the channel. I'm probably going to cut this ballistic gel today, see what kind of holes we're getting in the clear ballistic gel. Now, you may note that, hey, the expansion properties or the tissue breaking isn't really applicable. That's what a lot of medical journals, that this ballistic gel doesn't show that. Now, I actually think that clear ballistics, which shows less temporary wound cavity than organic gelatin, is actually a better medium for this test here today, because organic gel seems to exacerbate or show far greater tissue damage than there actually is medically when it's observed by physicians and during autopsies and so forth. So we're going to take a look at these 2 rounds and we'll let you be the judge. I'm sure I'll add my commentary, but that doesn't mean you can't take my data and make your own decision, which is fine with me. And I'm sure you will. All right, so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be testing these rounds into our clear ballistic gel setup. Now, what I like to do is I follow the GunSam protocol, which is 2 layers of t-shirt, 2 layers of denim. I think I have that reversed for this round, but whatever. Then I have 2 inches of clear ballistic gel. That's different from GunSam. Then I have a 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard. Then I have much more clear ballistic gelatin. That's our test setup that we're going to do. We'll shoot 2 rounds, one of the Extreme Defender and one of the XTP in that setup, and then we will remove those barriers and we'll just shoot it into the clear ballistic gel. We're going to use 1 gel block. We hopefully, if I do everything right, we should only have 4 wound tracks in it, and we'll get our decisions on what performed better, which would you prefer. and we'll provide that data for everyone. So that's what our test setup is. That's the progress that we're going to make today. Should be a good time. Let's get to shooting. Okay, well, first up, we're going to start off with the Underwood XTP bullet. It's a 90 grain projectile. I do have a chronograph set up. It's starting to snow. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to catch the velocities, but we'll give it an attempt. I'm going to start the slow motion video, and then we'll put the first round into this gel block. All right, we got 989. That's pretty good. Let's go down, check it out. All right, well, let's take a look at our gel block. Came in here through the 2 layers of denim, 2 layers of t-shirt, into our first couple inches of ballistic gelatin. And then we see that we really didn't get much expansion in those first couple of inches. Maybe with the medium density fiberboard, so not much there. Might have been clogged up. And then when it went through there, we got some. But then it looks like we did get some tumbling. And I don't even know if we got expansion on this one. So there's all my blah, 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 expansion, blah, blah, blah going on. And I don't even think we got any. Let's take this off. Let's take a look. See what we got here. Yep, we definitely were clogged up in that first couple of inches there. And then we come down and we get out almost, we were probably at about 18 inches because again, we did not hardly get any expansion. Maybe just a little bit of the tip starting to opening up. So let's go to 2 1/4 inches right there. I'm sure that's looking like horrible camera work. Yep, so it ended up at about 17, maybe it bounced back from 17.5. Just a tiny little bit of expansion. Let me pull that out real quick. It looks like there's a little bit of remnants of clothing in there, and we just got the beginnings of expansion with that. That's disappointing. I've seen this expand every single time. We got a decent velocity out of it. You know, and these gel blocks, everyone's gonna say, oh, your gel blocks are cold. It's about 30 degrees here today, and they just came out of the truck. And they've been stored in my house, not in my garage. So the insides of these gel blocks are totally warm. And also I heat them up with a blowtorch before so I can just melt the outside of them. All right, well, so that's our first projectile. This is good because what I've often said is that even if you don't get expansion, these XTPs or these jacketed hollow points tend to do more damage than the other rounds. Well, let's put that to the test now and see if that's true with this quote-unquote non-expanding bullet. Okay, now we have the 68 grain Platinum Edition Extreme Defender. We'll see how this does when we shoot it into our test setup with the barriers in place. We got 1105, again, a smaller grain weight bullet going a little bit faster. Let's see how it performed. Came in through this 2 layers of denim, through the 2 layers of t-shirt, through our first couple of inches. Let's check out our medium density fiberboard. Now, this was up here, our first shot. And this was our second shot. I think that's the back, so, or no, they're both the back. Can you tell a difference? I can't tell a difference. And what we see is that and of course it makes a little bit of sense, but the external hollow point got to about, with bounce back, 12 inches and then bounce back to about 11.5 inches. I know there's you're seeing a parallax issue. It may not look as deep as what I'm able to get when I get straight behind it. Versus this 16, 17 inches of the non-expanding XTP bullet. Then, why don't we try and take a look? I'm going to try to take this camera off. We're going to take a look and see if we can get a better look at that wound track that's in there and see what it tells us, or if it tells us any stories. So, and you can make your own determinations. I will try to cut this apart at the end, but this one here is the wound track from the Extreme Defender, and the one below it is the wound track from the XTP. The only thing I can tell is one is longer than the other. Those are the wound tracks. See, that XTP is still doing damage way out here, even though it didn't expand fully, which has been my hypothesis. Now, this in here, both of these bullets tumbled, right? That's why the wound track looks a little bigger than the other, and I'm sure in the slow motion we'll see that, but there's definitely a tumbling with that Extreme Defender that happens here. So, yeah, I don't know, because that is a one-dimensional slice. See how it looks thinner in this dimension than it does in this dimension, how wide it is. Same thing with this wound track over here. So we'll get a couple of slices of this in a little bit. Let me dig this bullet out, and then we'll shoot a couple of shots just into the gel and see how those perform. These are the two rounds side by side. Again, that's kind of why they look very similar. Is in the end, after the one is partially expanded, it looks very similar to the non-expanding hollow point. Okay, well, we have the 90 grain XTP back up. We have nothing in front of our gel. Let's see how it performs. All right, let's go down, check it out. We see this track that it came in here into the bare gel, and that's what it's doing when it is a hollow point. It creates a three-dimensional spiral effect that goes, for the most part, all the way down to where it is. We got great expansion on that round, as we would have expected. I would have expected some more expansion on the previous round, but testing is testing. And we get down, it gets out to about, again, very similar to that Extreme Defender, it got down to about a foot and then bounced back to about 11 inches and then spiraled the whole time. So we got great expansion on that. Why don't we get that out and measure it and see what our expanded bullet is? And that also tells us sort of some of the damage that it did, because again, most pistol rounds, according to the experts, only do the damage as wide as they cut, which is why the Extreme Defender bullet is such a controversy of whether it's actually doing more damage or not. This is our expanded bullet. It looks very nice. Did a great job. Why don't we get a measurement quick? You can see from our calipers, we get out to about 0.44. So a 44 caliber, 0.45 caliber slug we have going through that bullet. So transform from a 0.355 to a 0.45, which is great. That is doing more damage, has greater likelihood that it's going to hit some kind of vital tissue or artery or heart or something as it's going through your intended target. The wider the bullet, the more damage, especially in pistol rounds. Okay, well, I didn't really read the velocity last time. We got 944 feet per second. Now this time we're going to use that 68 grain Extreme Defender bullet, and we're going to put it into the gel block. I think I might have knocked the camera last time. My apologies. I think we got it recentered. We'll see how it goes this time. All right, 1102. Let's go down, check it out. Well, we are the top wound track, which did a pretty good, decent job. But what I'm again seeing is I think it tumbled at about this mark. It's not the spiraling that you typically get with a hollow point. And we see that the bullet all the way at the end is in fact facing the wrong direction. So one of the problems with tumbling is great because it does that yaw as it goes through the continuum or the medium that you're shooting into. It does tons of damage, but you just don't, like, is it yawing where the heart is? Is it yawing where the vitals are? Is it yawing in muscle tissue, or did it not yaw this time? It's often very unpredictable. Let's just take a quick look at our gel. It did get just, well, it got maybe a ½ inch further than the XTP bullet did. So not great, not a lot more. Now it is very consistent, right? So when the XTP bullet expanded, it got about 11.5 inches with bounce back, maybe 12. And when it didn't expand, it got 17, versus the XTP got consistently around a foot into it. So I think this is something for us to consider. Let me try and now take a slice through this gel block and see if there's something interesting that we can't discern from that. I don't know if we will. We'll try an experiment. Let me start to get a slice through here. I'm pretty sure I can keep track of what all these rounds were because of how I pulled them out of the gel. So let me try and do a slice. I'll do a slice at about the 3-inch mark. Let me just see what that is. Yeah, 3-inch mark. I'll do a slice at about the 3-inch mark, which would be the 5-inch mark without the gel and a 3-inch mark with the gel. Should have brought a bigger knife, but I brought at least this knife.
A few moments later.
Bear with me for a second. This is the one we just saw right here. This is the one from the Extreme Defender that we shot into clear gel. This is the one from the XTP bullet that happened and doesn't look to be as big of a hole. And then this is the Extreme Defender the first time it went through, and it was exactly doing that. It was tumbling. And then down here is the first round of the XTP, or the XTP into the gel itself, and that is by far our biggest hole and the most symmetric hole. You know, this tumbling was okay. I still think that this hole is bigger than this hole, which is the Extreme Defender hole, and this is the XTP hole. So that's gel to gel, and this is contraption to contraption. This hole is definitely bigger, but if we go a couple inches longer in the gel block, you'll see that this one opens up just a little bit bigger too, because it tumbled a little later in the gel. So we maximize this tumbling versus this tumbling. For me, you know, they're going to do the same when they don't work well, and you're going to get a little bit, albeit micro, better for performance when they do work. And so that's why I'll still stick with the XTP, but this is also telling me this is close enough that this runs into your pistol, and you feel more comfortable with that, then you should run it. And it probably should be in my top 5. It definitely should have been, especially given some of the federal rounds, how they performed and kind of didn't. So yeah, I don't know what you think. This has been enlightening to me. Why don't we wrap things up? Thank you everybody for coming out today. Today we had our Underwood XTP versus our Underwood Extreme Defender in 380 ACP. We really wanted to see is what does it make a difference in hollow points if you get expansion or don't get expansion, compared to a bullet that's never supposed to be expanding. So unexpanding hollow points versus expanding hollow points. And we saw today that my favorite, and I said at the beginning, it always proved, I should never say always, right? I learned that a long time ago, and yet I still say stupid stuff like that. And today it did not expand in the medium, but it did in similar temperatures, similar environment, same box of ammo. It's not a different lot. It's just one round to the next. It's right on that edge. That may argue for those of you who want to run plus P rounds, you may want to run the plus P round. Maybe that's what you want to do. But again, still, you know, the argument is don't run these XTPs because they don't get enough penetration. Well, we saw, well, what if it doesn't expand? It gets plenty of penetration. And then you're no worse off than running that Extreme Defender bullet. So for me, I'm still going to run that Underwood XTP bullet. I still think that's a top performer. It's generally loaded hotter than the other XTP rounds. Hotter is better in my opinion. It's still under the standard pressure rules, so to speak. At least that's what they advertise. Won't get into that debate. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Are you going to go with a non-expanding, or are you going to go with the expanding in 380 ACP? Now, why is that an important question? Because oftentimes bullets don't expand in 380 ACP. 380 ACP also has the benefit is if it doesn't expand, it's not going to get so much penetration that you're getting over penetration. All of these rounds were stopped within 17 inches of the gel today. So I think that's also worth understanding. And I know there's a crew out there that say, I run Winchester White Box, or I run Sig Sauer Flat Nose, you know, and fine. We tested that in my top 5 video, and it did fine. And I'm not going to knock you, and you go ahead and knock yourself out and keep up with that. For me, I know what I'm going to go with, but you know, I learned something today. I hope everyone else did. Hope everyone else has a great week, and let's get to shooting.
From pistols to rifles, we'll take on the best. Review and each weapon, put them to the test. With revolvers and shotguns, we'll break it all down. The Second Amendment protects from the crown. Living for freedom.